Everyone talks about finding a village, but where do I start? Hi, my name is Latham Thomas. I'm the founder of the global maternal health and education platform, Mama Glow. I'm the mom to a 22-year-old son, and I'm an advocate for maternal health and breastfeeding. It was really important for me to be a part of this campaign because I have shared values with Momcozy because Momcozy puts moms first. And that's what we do at Mama Glow. Our work is so much about ensuring that we have solutions for the challenges that people face and meeting their needs. I love to think about like our job as an opportunity to anticipate other people's needs. And what that means is before you even ask, we've already solved it for you. This is what elegant product design is about. It's also what service is about. And so for me, it was important to be a part of a campaign that really centered the needs of parents, but also was responsive and developing solutions for those needs. I was so thrilled and honored to be appointed to the Momcozy Medical Advisory Board for many reasons. One being that part of the role is to shape the future and what Momcozy will bring to communities. Part of it is also communing with other people who are part of that advisory board and talking about how we can collectively build change. And also, it's a space for us to chime in about the product development and the other plans that Momcozy has in place to support parents. What exactly does finding a village mean, and how can you do it? Finding a village is all about taking the time to ensure that you have adequate support along your postnatal journey. It means finding people who are like-minded, who share in your values, and who can support you in this really precious and yet vulnerable time. It's important to find people who also can champion for you, who can be your cheerleaders, but who also can change a diaper so you can take a shower. People who can help you with breastfeeding, and folks who can just ensure that you have the smoothest transition into new parenthood. Why is extra support so needed while you're breastfeeding? Extra support is so needed because how we live as a society. Living at an accelerated pace, everything is so fast and we're so spread far apart from our community members that creating this safety net of support is so critical to ensure that you have the best postpartum experience. I know in my journey, my mom showed up for me right after I had my son, and she stayed for a few weeks, and it was the best gift ever. Not all of us have the opportunity to have our family members there, so creating a friendship network, a sister circle of support, finding people who can really show up for you is so critical to ensure that those times of need, those times where you feel really vulnerable, sometimes when you even feel sad or just like you need a little bit of extra boost, those are people who can fill in those gaps for you and ensure that you have the best care. One supportive person can make a meaningful difference. People assume that breastfeeding is instinctive, but for so many, it isn't. So if you don't have a support network already waiting for you as you navigate the postpartum experience, one of the things I like to suggest to people is while pregnant, while thinking about the postpartum experience, thinking about your breastfeeding journey, is to develop a plan. A lot of us think about the birth plan as critically important as we're navigating the experience of birthing in the early postpartum period. It is critical to have a birth plan and birth preferences, but it's also important to think about aftercare, your feeding plan and what that'll look like, and who's going to show up in those moments where you really need support. So part of the design is really thinking through early on. And so many of us don't have the opportunity to do that because we're really so focused on the birthing experience. And so the opportunity we have is to think about what lies on the other side. How do we prepare for that? And develop not only systems, but also communities where you feel supported. And so some of that might be finding local groups that are in your community, your neighborhood. It might mean joining a group at your hospital or place of giving birth. It may mean also joining online forums. We live on our phones, so it's so easy to find community also digitally. It also might mean accessing resources and tools, whether that's books, articles, podcasts, video is a great component also, and finding the way to integrate these tools so that they help you as you're navigating the journey. It's not easy to do alone, which is why we're meant to do it in community. And so it's a little bit of effort that we have to take, but it pays dividends in the long run. So let's talk about what a feeding plan looks like. So much like a birth plan where you navigate all of the possibilities of what an experience might be for you for birthing, we do the same thing for a feeding plan. It starts right after you give birth. And so it's going to entail your preferences for your feeding. Is it always going to be breastfeeding? Would it be bottle feeding? Would there be a pacifier introduced? What would that look like for you? Who are the people who can help support you? Would it be your nurse teaching you how to breastfeed? Or maybe a lactation consultant would come into play. It might also mean looking at the caregiving support that you have in the network, whether it's your mom or a family member or even friends or even a postpartum doula that may show up and their role in the feeding. And ultimately, as we think about a feeding plan, it's really about making sure that you feel confident in your choices and feeling like you have the options available to make decisions. And so this is critical because you're a new parent, right? And you need to feel confidence along the journey. And part of that is planning. And so we have a feeding plan so that no matter what is happening along the postnatal experience, we have a guide. It's almost like guardrails, right, to help you navigate the course. I like to think about it like if we were taking a road trip, right? You would have a map. Well, now we have GPS, and the GPS will guide us on where to go. And your feeding plan is much like GPS, right? It's really like a place to navigate your plan, your ideas, but also know that it can change. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to accommodate your current needs, and also think about like where you want to go on this journey. That's going to be critical. What are some societal challenges that make breastfeeding difficult for some new parents? So there's many societal challenges that make breastfeeding difficult for new parents. One is that in the United States, we don't have a federal paid leave policy. So many new parents have to go back to work immediately after giving birth. Imagine that 1 in 4 women head back to work 10 days after having a baby. This makes it extremely difficult to continue to breastfeed. That's one. We think about also affordability. Not everyone has access to a doula, a lactation consultant, or even ongoing support to ensure that breastfeeding is successful. Another challenge that people face is community support and lack of community care. Sometimes our family members even become impediments to our breastfeeding journey. And so it's really important to acknowledge that there are many things that are structural rather than personal that make it really hard for people to go over the hurdle to be able to successfully breastfeed. And I think it's important to just really acknowledge that it's hard when you don't have family nearby. And for many of us, that's the reality. How do I prepare if I don't have a support system? Although there's so many challenges, there are solutions and there's something that we can actually do about it. So I'd like to talk about a few things that we can do. Number one, there are so many incredible resources online and tools that you can access for support. Momcozy is a wonderful resource, and we're so excited that you're here to just engage in the content, but also to learn more about your own journey and find community. Community is another key component in finding online community space with other people who are going through the same things as you. If you gave birth to twins and you're trying to navigate breastfeeding twins, you might find someone in community who's already done that. And so they're kind of like your elder in the process that can hold your hand through. Also, finding in your local community spaces, whether it's your yoga center or maybe it's a parenting group, or even some of the stores and local shops might have meetups. Find meetups where you can be with people who are going through the same life stage so that you can navigate the course together. I found that in my time when I gave birth to my son, that being in these physical spaces was so critically important. And finding community that way, even though I lived so far away from my family, really helped me to feel confident in my parenting style and also helped me to continue my breastfeeding journey. Another thing that I think is so important is having models for breastfeeding, like people who you look up to, people who are archetypes for you. Like, is there someone in your community or maybe even someone online that you follow on social media who gives you hope and who also helps you to feel like you can do it? I see moms championing each other, talking about how much milk they were able to pump and cheering each other on. That support goes a long way, especially when you don't have community nearby. So finding people, whether it's to follow on social, blogs that you might be tuning into, or just also forums or spaces where you can get that extra support and feel that boost that you might need to keep going. What does a world that supports breastfeeding look like? My vision for the future is one where people have culturally competent care, they have providers who understand their needs. I envision a future where our healthcare professionals really understand the unique needs of people who are breastfeeding, that everyone is trained in lactation support so they can support people when they give birth. I also envision a future where parents can be home and nurse their young and be in a space where they have adequate support to be at home. What does a federal paid leave policy look like in this country to optimize that experience for new parents? I also envision a space where people of marginalized identities and different backgrounds have the support that they need, whether someone is disabled, what are the tools that they can access that help them to breastfeed or feed their infants the best way that they can. And so I think as we build a future together, it's important to think about everyone involved and how we can support all identities. I think it's also important to think through what solutions make sense, but also talk to parents about their needs. And parents should be part of how we product design. And I love Momcozy for taking into consideration the aspects of what are challenging for so many parents and then creating elegant design to actually make solutions for it. So we need more of that. We need more product-based solutions that support the modern parent and their current needs.